What is up, everybody? Welcome into an emergency episode of Real Talk.
Real sports.
Real sports, whatever the fuck this is. It's 9 a.m. I have an energy drink that I just cracked. This is Real Sports. You know where you are. You know who you're with. It's Colin. It's Matt. We're going to start. Both pieces of news we have to tackle today are not easy to talk about. One a bit easier than the other. But not really. It's different. It's apples and oranges. It's mangoes and cucumbers. This is more like rotting carcasses and cranberries. You know, like it's just like complete opposites. You know, though some people would compare cranberries to rotting carcasses. Today, we are going to discuss the breaking news of Deshaun Watson's, for now, emphasis on the for now 6-game suspension by Judge Sue Robertson. And first, we are going to start by celebrating the life of one of the all-time, if not the all-time greatest basketball player and all-around amazing, spectacular
person,
unprecedented, just beautiful human being that was Bill Russell. Left us yesterday. Tough for any sports fan. I know a good many Boston fans that this really shook up. For me, I know Bill Russell more for his contributions to the social justice movement, for everything that he did in the 60s with Muhammad Ali and Martin Luther King, and everything in that era that he was able to put his weight on. And it just hit me like a ton of bricks and came out of nowhere. And then like two more famous people died yesterday, and it was just like,
yesterday was a horrible day, especially for people who were a major part of the civil rights movement. Shout out Nichelle Nichols. But
Lieutenant Uhura.
It's one of those things where I was in the car driving with Jenny to her grandmother's so she can cut her hair when the news broke, and it was, I screamed, because Bill Russell has always been one of those people you're like, you just feel like he's gonna live forever. You know what I mean? He's always like, even in his later life, he still looked like this, had the same energy, that Bill Russell smile you get. The inspiration for Uncle Drew, let's not forget that. Just all around respect for the game. And I remember when I was in, it was either 8th grade year or 9th grade year, when I read Bill Simmons' The Book of Basketball. And I read it, like, that was when I was really starting to like deep dive into basketball and my love for it. And
so then you know the secret to basketball.
It's been a while, Colin. That's
every year before basketball season, you need to go in and read the Isaiah Thomas excerpt where Isaiah Thomas explains to Bill Simmons the secret of successful basketball. And it's funny, Bill Simmons just put that up the other day, and he put up his podcast when they did the Book of Basketball 2.0, where he kind of went back and revisited the main points that he made in that and added on. And one of them was more of a celebration of Bill Russell, as opposed to putting him up on the pedestal. Yeah. It was appreciating why he's on the pedestal, and not just like, making an argument as to why he's the best player ever. Obviously, Bill Simmons, a diehard, lifelong Boston Celtics fan who's been going to Boston Celtics since he was 6 years old. Like, I'm very, like, Jackie McMullen's piece yesterday. Oh my God. Read that when I got home from dinner with my grandparents. Just like, just the way Jackie knew him, and like the way he immersed himself in a city and a sports culture that at the time wanted nothing to do with him in terms of anything other than his ability to put the ball
in the hoop. Yeah.
And the honestly, I don't feel any sort of sense. I mean, I don't even feel bad saying about this. Probably the original victim of shut up and dribble
Mm-hmm.
without it being said in the way that it's said, but you can probably get a sense that he tackled a lot of the same shit that players right now are tackling, where they're like, I was sitting at the bar the other day, man, and just like people you wouldn't expect to be like, oh, like somebody, I brought up like Space Jam. And then somebody took that as a way to taxi on to LeBron. And then how like, oh, I wish LeBron would just play basketball. Like, bro, you don't even watch basketball. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, it's that same mentality. And if you could only think of what that toxicity was in 1966 when he's
Mm-hmm.
going to the garden every day and hearing everything that you can't even imagine. And those are Boston sports fans who, even this season, were commented on by Golden State Warriors players for yelling things they never heard before come from fans.
Arguably the most racist city in America still to this day.
Yeah, probably. And I've never been, so I can't really contest. But like I can imagine. I know people from Boston. I know how they are outside of Boston. I can
Mm-hmm.
only imagine what happens when a gaggle of them gets together inside of the garden. But okay, we just have to do something. We just got to appreciate what Bill Russell did on
Yes.
the court. We can go on and on and on
11 chips.
contributions off the court. But what he did on the court is almost more triumphant, if not more triumphant, than what they pushed each other. It's like he pushed himself. It's like every
Right.
time he got another championship, be like, all right, well, what else can I do to help the world? It's like Nick Saban down in Alabama. Every time he wins a championship, he's made a bet with his wife that he's going to donate $1 million to Habitat for Humanity to build a new house because Tuscaloosa was ravaged with that bad tornado a few years ago. So since every year they've donated $1 million that they've won, and they've built a house. So now she wants to build a house every year, not so much win a championship is more what it's about. Bill, you could kind of tell, it's like, all right, what can I do on the court to elevate myself, to make my voice louder off of the court? It's almost that in a more, a wilder way. This man's stats are absolutely fucking disgusting, folks. Absolutely fucking disgusting. Matt, do you know which season he became the coach?
I know it was towards the end of his career, but I can't remember.
Okay, because I have to have something in my brain of to if there was a fall off. And guess what, folks? There's not a fall off. Okay, there's no fall off here. This man is fucking incredible. We're gonna start with his field goal percentage, a career average of 44% from the field. That's disgusting. His lowest field goal percentage season, 41%.
He started coaching in
41%.
66.
He became the coach in 66. Okay, so for 3 seasons, and mind you, the first year he took over as coach, he played the most games of his entire career. He played 81 games in the 66-67 season, averaging 13 points, 21 total rebounds per game. Holy shit. That's insane. Assists, 5. Okay. His career highs in points, he averaged. Okay, let's just go with the averages. Over his career, he averaged 15 points, 4 assists, 22 rebounds, 56% from the free throw line. That could have been better. Bill, we could have worked on that. Like, honestly, if that's the only thing, Bill, we could have worked on the free throws a little bit. Shooting 6 a game his career.
Yeah.
That's not bad for a big man.
You're forgetting one key point about him being a coach. He was the first black coach in the NBA.
Oh, yeah. That's pretty heavy.
And he was a player at the same time.
The best player.
Yeah. Some people argue Wilt because Wilt had more points. Nah. When you can average just about the same in points and rebound, he was the unselfish player who could go out there, do what his team needed him to do. He could be like, screw it, I'm sacrificing the points tonight. It's all boards and defense. That's the kind of player he was.
All right, look, guys, it was not a great run for him in the 67 playoffs. I'm pulling up the stats from the 67 playoffs. He started off hot in the second round against Philly. He went for a double-double in the first game, 20 and 15. And then he goes 14 and 24. He loses that game by 14 points, the 20 and 15 game. Then he goes 14 and 24, loses that game by 5 points. Then he goes 10 and 29, loses that game by 11 points. Imagine that, bro. If it'd be like if Rudy Gobert was like, yeah, I'm going to average 8 points and 25 rebounds. Yeah. And that's how it's going to be. Like, there's nothing like that. Like, there's just, it's so crazy. It's like if there's no other big men on the Bucks. I guess that's how it would be.
Yeah. I got to correct myself there. He wasn't the first black coach in the NBA. He was the first black coach in any major American
sport. Yeah.
Like, he paved the way.
That's 14 years after how long after the West Texas Miners? When was that?
Let's see. That was 66 that he
took over. Because that's, to me, that's the start of the revolution in basketball. Thank you to Glory Road, an above-average Disney sports movie for keeping really my young white ass educated at the age of 6.
Wow. And I watch that about once every couple of years because it's a movie that gets forgotten so often.
What, nacho, taco, burrito? No, I'm looking for hot doggo. That's still, to this day, one of my favorite red lines in any movie. It's so pure. Okay. Outside of basketball, Matt, is there anything you want to say about this before we move on to some?
All right. So ever since, even before this happened, ever since rumors of this started happening, everyone has known my stance on Deshaun Watson.
I was going with Bill Russell, but
you said outside of my bad.
I meant outside of that's what I meant, like outside of basketball, off the court. Sorry,
we covered all about him outside of basketball. You hit it on the head.
Is there any favorite moment? Is there anything in your brain that you see? Because I know mine immediately is the moment from the ESPYs where he gets the Lifetime Achievement Award. And then he turns around to Magic Johnson and Isaiah Thomas and all the boys behind him. He's like, I'd have kicked all, and Shaq. And he's like, I'd have kicked all y'all's asses. That to me, it's like, and he's so pure and he's so genuine and he so means it too. Which to me is like one of those things where like people say, like when you try to compare eras, that's a mentality thing. Like, and that's something that carries over from year to year. Like, and like that's something that carries your whole life. No. And you are a warrior. You're a competitor your whole life. And that's something that, like, he looks at those guys. You don't think if he's, like, 20 – Bill Russell's 24 years old right now. He's not the number one pick in the draft. Like, get the fuck out of here. Like, there's certain dudes that if you go back through the annals of time and you're like, yeah, Bob Cousy, probably not the number one pick if he were to come out today. Like, you know, like, there's just certain dudes that if you look, like, if they were the greats and they came out now, there would just be a different way that they were judged. He breaks that mold. Magic breaks that mold. Isaiah Thomas probably breaks that mold. Larry Bird breaks that mold.
Yes, sir.
Like, there's all the greats. And he set that. But he's from the fucking 50s. Like, I watched a video of him, Matt. He jumped over a white man for a layup, dog. Like, his right foot, like, his left foot is closer to the basket. His right foot is behind the free throw line, and he leaps over this white boy, like puts him through the 5-hole and lays it up. Doesn't even dunk, because I don't even know if he knew what dunking was, or like I really don't understand.
Dunking didn't really start happening until much later.
Somebody wants to make like the really true solid ABA documentary. That'd be lit. But yeah, seeing him just like leap over a dude my size and then just lay up over him and be like, oh, hey, Bill. How the kids? Pass me right by.
And that was back in the days when that was back in the days where like there wasn't much going on. It was like they weren't making much, they're making peanuts. They were still working real jobs on top of playing the game.
Signing bonus got you a nice bag of crackers from the corner store.
Yeah.
All right. Bill Russell, we appreciate everything you did for this shitty rock we currently live on. But thanks for making it better for a lot of people. And worse for those people that didn't like you. That's probably the nicest thing you could say to somebody that you love. It's like, thanks for pissing off the people that are terrible. Because he did. Boy, did he. Love it. Love him. Matt, let's do this. We are going to talk about the breaking news as of about 75 minutes ago. Deshaun Watson has been suspended 6 games per
recommended
arbitrator.
Recommended a 6
games. I got it. I'm getting there, baby. Per the recommendation of an independent arbiter. Is it arbiter or arbitrator? It's arbiter is the villain from Halo. Arbitrator is a legal thing. I will make that mistake so many times today, and I am very sorry.
I almost did myself earlier. I have caught myself a few times.
Okay. So before we get into our thoughts, our opinions, because you fucking guess we do, I am going to run through a timeline of events stretching back all the way to March of last year. This starts March 16, 2021, where the Busby, who is the defending, or the I don't know what you would call them. I don't know who's the defense. I guess Deshaun Watson has a defense team.
Yeah, defense is
Deshaun
Watson. Yeah.
The team on offense going against Deshaun Watson announces that they're filing a suit on March 16th. 2 new cases are filed the next day. And then on the 18th of March, 2 days later, the NFL officially opens its investigation into Deshaun Watson. So we are a year and 4 months
from when everything started.
From when this started. 4 days later, Busby files 7 new cases. The next day, Watson's lawyer accuses women of attempting blackmail. The next day, suit alleges Watson is deleting Instagram messages. 18 messages from therapists defending Watson on March 31st, saying that the accusations are inconsistent with their experiences. So at this point, March 31st, 2021, we have 21 people who have accused Deshaun Watson of sexual assault and misconduct. And then the 18 who said, nah, it was all cool. All right, so that's up to 39 different people that he had massages from. I just want to keep that running time.
Yeah.
April 2nd, 2021, Watson under police investigation. The 22nd case is filed. 2 women go public with their accusations on April 6th, 2021. Watson loses multiple endorsement deals on April 7th after those women go public. Watson's lawyer files a motion request that the plaintiff identify herself on April 8th. We're going to skip ahead up to the judge rules that 13 plaintiffs must identify themselves and refile their cases. That just started extending everything. 20 women then on April 14, 2021. So about immediately a month after this is all gone on, 20 women ID themselves in court filings, and another woman files suit against Deshaun Watson. The plaintiff identifies herself, bringing the total to 22 women. Okay. This is getting a little convoluted, but the NFL eventually has a trial on all this. A grand jury is gathered not for a year later, after he signs a crazy extension with the Browns, after he's traded to the Browns by the Texans. So we've skipped ahead. This is a year and 4 days later. It is agreed that Watson will not face criminal charges on the allegations of sexual assault and misconduct, and that comes out of the state of Texas. So basically clearing the Texans in the middle of trade season to trade the biggest trade piece in
possibly NFL history.
Yeah, arguably in NFL history. How many times has this happened? Not very often. So then on March 18th, that was March 11th when we found out he was going to face no criminal trials of this year, or criminal charges this year.
Period.
7 days later, Texans trade Watson to the Browns for a 22 first-round draft pick, a 23 first and third-round pick, and 24 first and fourth-round draft picks. Cleveland also received a 2024 fifth-round draft pick as part of the trade. So, now, we move on. Here is the statement from Dee and Jimmy Haslam on trading for Deshaun Watson. We spent a tremendous amount of time exploring and investigating the opportunity to trade for Deshaun Watson. We are acutely aware and empathetic to the highly personal sentiments expressed about this decision. Our team's comprehensive evaluation process was of utmost importance due to the sensitive nature of his situation and the complex factors involved. We also understand there are still some legal proceedings that are ongoing, and we will respect due process. It was pivotal that we, along with Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski, meet with Deshaun to have a straightforward dialogue, discuss our priorities, and hear directly from him on how he wants to approach his career on and off the field. He was humble, sincere, and candid. In our conversations, Deshaun detailed his commitment to leading our team. He understands and embraces the hard work needed to rebuild both his name in the community and on the field. Those in-depth conversations, the extensive evaluation process, his dedication to being a great teammate, and devotion to helping others within the NFL, within the community, and through his charitable initiatives provided the foundation for us to pursue Deshaun. We are confident in Deshaun and excited about moving forward with him as our quarterback and supporting his genuine and determined efforts. Cool. Glad you said words. 4 days later, a grand jury in Brazoria County meeting to review a complaint against Watson. They declined to indict him on the same day. Another charge came out over the next 2 weeks. A report came out on June 7th from the New York Times that Watson reportedly booked 66 massage therapists in a 17-month period. That reminds me of the line from The Social Network that if I had enough free drugs, I couldn't give it out to 10,000 people in one day. Like, that's hard. That's pretty impressive. It's like I'm not mad. I'm impressed, but I'm not impressed. I'm horrified is the worst version of that. Texans to be added as defendants in the lawsuit against Watson. Based on what we've learned from the Houston Police Department, we will soon be joining the Houston Texans organization and others as defendants in the ongoing lawsuit against Deshaun Watson. On the 14th, Watson speaks with reporters for basically the first time and denies allegations. Watson settles the lawsuits on June 21st. Watson accuser sues Texans for negligence on June 27th. On July 15th, the Texans settle with 30 different women. And today, we find that Watson has settled 20 of the 24 civil suits acting against him.
23 as of this morning.
23 of the 24 against, no.
He settled 3 more over the night. So, yeah, it's 23.
Okay. So 23 of the 24. And now, with his 5-year, $230 million deal fully guaranteed, this man has been decided sort of, possibly today, pending whether or not the NFLPA or the NFL, independently of one another, which the NFLPA will not appeal this. That's a guarantee they will not appeal this. This is a win for the NFLPA. Mm-hmm. And the NFL will probably appeal this, which then will just hand it over to Roger Goodell to let him do whatever he wants, which
will then cause the NFLPA to sue because they have made it known.
Which will then cause the NFLPA to sue because this is the exact thing that they made these. This is the first one of these independent arbitrator situations where we have a judge making a ruling that then Roger Goodell can either agree with or kind of use it as a stepping stone to something else. But this definitely, to me, makes me comfortable to say that he's not getting suspended for a year. I don't think Roger Goodell's going to jack this up from 6 games to plus 12. Like, that's definitely grounds to sue. If he wants to make sure they don't get sued, I would add 4. I wouldn't double it.
The rumor is that if it goes past 8, they're suing.
But here's the thing. This is just about playing football at this point.
Yeah, it is.
Because the Cleveland Browns aided in abetting the fact that he's not going to lose game checks because he, quote, came forward about everything involved in this lawsuit. And usually when you get suspended for something mid-contract, you lose those game checks. But since he negotiated this contract on the grounds of knowing these allegations exist, regardless of the outcome, the Browns guaranteed his game checks. So who gives a shit if he plays football?
He's gonna lose $300,000. That's it. That's all he's losing.
That's
as
it.
of
Not
right
a
now.
game. That's it. Flat. $345,000. Flat. When it should be like $3 million a game.
Yeah. But that, and to be fair, multiple Cleveland reporters have pointed this out. The Browns structure the first year of a lot of their contract extensions like that to maximize cap. That's what's happened with Joel Petonia's extension, Wyatt Teller's, Denzel Ward's, Myles Garrett. So it's not uncommon for Andrew Berry to do this, but it looks worse because of what this situation is. So
none of this looks good.
That's
the problem. Like I Ben Roethlisberger was suspended 6 games by Roger Goodell for the accusations of one woman that was definitely true. And that was physical sexual assault, which this has been described as non-violent. Which, if you want to take that for what it is, and if we're going to sit here and judge the difference between a creep and a rapist, we can try to have that conversation, but I don't really want to. And I think that's the one that the NFL is sitting with in front of them. And they're like, how do we do this?
Mm-hmm.
Because this is a very strange situation. Can a guy go to jail for sitting on Tinder and swiping right on 66 women and they all say hi and match with him? And suddenly he's got 66 women talking to him? No, but it's pretty fucking weird. I've talked about this before from a different perspective of having had Deshaun Watson in my life for longer than most people because of his early commitment to Clemson since he was 16 years old as a Gamecock fan. This guy has been in my life for fucking almost 10 years now. And I've never smelled roses around him at all. Because that guy went up to Clemson and from what I heard, lived a life of luxury. A life of yes, 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 yes.
Which normally happens with the star quarterback in any school.
But one that was on the ascension of Clemson, arguably due to him. The quarterback before him was, I want to say it was Taj Boyd.
Yeah.
And Taj Boyd, didn't he get drafted by the Jets? Clemson in 2013. Yeah, so that 2013 Clemson season. Excuse me. So Deshaun, that was Deshaun's rookie year was 2014. So yeah, he's been in my life for 10 years now. So he comes in and Clemson goes, they finished 15th in the AP poll, and that is the last year that they don't go to a playoff. So then his sophomore year, he goes for 35 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, and he throws for 4,100 yards. He rushes for another 1,100 yards and has another 12 touchdowns on the ground. So the guy comes into this world like Jesus Christ and takes this team from obscurity to just it was just absolutely insane. And I see a lot of similarities between what he can do, what he did for that team and the defense that team had, and what he's about to do for the Browns. So there is a lot of similarities here between these situations in terms of rising organizations doing things right for the first time that they hadn't been doing for a while. He's the first one to come in and beat South Carolina after losing 5 games to them in a row. So he kind of there's this elevatedness of this guy is known as a savior. And that's a complex. And that can carry over big time, especially when you just go to another shitty organization like the Texans were for most of our lives. Matt, who's the two Texans you can name off the top of your head from our childhood?
Andre Johnson and J.J. Watt.
Okay, 3.
DeAndre
Arian
Hopkins.
Foster.
Arian Foster was the one. I could see his face. I couldn't think of his name. I just remember him as the running back from draft who was playing a 20-year-old, looked like he was 40 and drafted.
Right, exactly. But it's like to go to that team and to do his best. I mean, he took them to the playoffs and led them against Andrew Luck. So really like two colliding forces of like of two rising phenoms from coming out of college to the pros, both leading their teams there. But is that not all he's done? And the talent is there, but the team obviously didn't do a lot to support Deshaun Watson, and that's fine. I mean, he had a great season. It was three fantasy seasons ago for his full fantasy season.
Yeah,
he had a really good year. He did really well, but he's sitting down there in a life that he doesn't like. It's not as serious to him as Clemson, so he's taking it off mentally to me when he's down there, and he just is like, fine, I'll go. Like I just can't wrap my brain around like all 66 different people that you were like, hey, I need a massage. It just baffles me, and it's just weird. But it goes back to are we talking about like the difference between being a creep and a sexual like predator?
Yep.
Because then this sets a really hard precedent for every owner.
Yeah, and the NFL was like, oh yeah, we'll abide, but we'll have our owners undergo the same. It's like, okay, but like you had those opportunities already. It'd be a different situation if you hadn't already acted in this way. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like you gave the NFLPA the ammo to where they can just be like, yeah, they don't treat the owners this harshly. Why should they treat our player this harshly and try to make an example of him when it's the owners who should be made an example of, and then we follow suit from that. I've said on this show numerous times over the last year, I had no interest in Deshaun Watson. Even when Baker Mayfield was playing at his worst, I was of the opinion of tank, draft someone else, and move on. But they made that trade, and as a Browns fan, I have to live with it. I will never own a Deshaun Watson jersey. I root for my team, but I try to ignore the quarterback position. The jerseys I own are players I respect, as Nick Chubb and Myles Garrett. But he's never going to be like my personal quarterback. You know, he's going to be like, yeah, he's our quarterback, but he's not the quarterback I'm rooting for.
You're going to see more, and this is my hope, is that you're going to see more Deshaun Watson jerseys at Clemson football games that college kids wear than you will in a Cleveland Browns home game.
I can tell you that's our. They first day of training camp open to the public was Sunday. Or actually,
the dude's Saturday. In the building.
Yeah, he's in the building. He's allowed.
He's at work today. Are you fucking kidding me?
You're allowed to.
I know. It's like,
but
bro, if you hit on
real quick. Oh. There were parents lining their children up to get his autograph. What does that tell you about how the city of Cleveland feels about him? You're not gonna. There are kids lining up with their parents to get his autograph.
Matt, can I ask you an important question?
What's up?
Will your opinion of other players on that team be tainted based off of their possible responses to this situation?
I've had a weird. It's been weird for me ever since.
Has there been an example that I'm not aware of?
No, because all the players have just been like, he's my teammate. I'm gonna support him. Just like the good teammate kind of verbiage. like when we first traded for him, he went around Cleveland for a night, and there was a couple players with him. It still kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But what can you do? He's still the quarterback. It's a weird situation now. The player who was the most outspoken about Deshaun's innocence was traded before we even traded for Deshaun. So, I was already not the biggest fan of him. Mac Wilson, linebacker from Alabama. And he celebrated when, even though he's no longer on the team, celebrated that Deshaun got off and this, that, and the other. And it's just like, wow, dude, read the room. This is never going to be easy. I will say, for people who are of the mindset of, well, you're just who don't understand what this ruling is, because it's not that he is suspended for 6 games. It is not that the NFL chose to suspend him for 6 games. It is that an independent arbitrator suggested 6 games, and this is where this league is going for more high-profile cases like this. There's not much you can do outside of that besides the NFL being like, well, we're not going to buy this decision. That is playing a dangerous game. As much as I would like the suspension to be longer, personally, and I'm saying this as a Browns fan, mind you, it plays a dangerous game for multiple reasons. One, the NFLPA can countersue, and this thing can go on forever and ever and ever. 2, players, the NFL can make it so players strike. Because what was the point of us agreeing to get an independent arbiter in negotiations for arbitrator for in the CBA negotiations for instances like these, for you to just go on to ignore them? It's a dangerous game, and if they sue, all the NFL's dirty little secrets can get out. And the league doesn't want that, because then you're going to have everything from the John Gruden situation now. You're going to have everything from the Daniel Snyder situation now. You're going to have everything, because now at the higher levels, they're going to want to look into Robert Kraft's situation, Jimmy Haslam's situation.
NFL better watch out, or else Saudi Arabia is going to spend some of that $300 billion fund they have to come over and make another football
invest
league.
Invest in the XFL and on all, like.
Yo, The Rock is doing some good shit over there, man. Like every video I've seen of him, regardless of whether or not he spent more time on the field with them than he has in the final season of Ballers, the media that I've seen of him running the 54th man mentality has been really inspiring. I mean, I'm repping my Rock shirt today, but he's he's really going out there and doing it in a positive way, which the LIV golf stuff just kind of came out and was like, well, we're just going to steal your players away. Fuck you. The Rock is just doing it right. And I just don't have not seen a situation handled by the NFL that I don't know if I've ever liked the way the NFL's ever handled a situation, because there's no right way to handle any of these situations, because it's all up to the public's opinion. If we lived in a world that was more fucked up than it is, and Deshaun Watson
pretty fucked up as it is,
normalized, none of this might have even happened. And we would just be like, wow, look at that creep. And then you either think he's a creep and you move on. But now all of this dirty laundry has been wrung out into the middle of the street. And
the NFL is going to risk the rest of their dirty laundry.
Which now when you put it in that sense, if I was the NFL, I'd come to a bargaining table and be like, look.
They tried to. They tried to, and they were like, we want 12 games and an $8 million fine. And the NFLPA said the max will go as 8. No fine.
I think Raj will go 9 and he'll pull out $1 million fine, and then people will be like, okay, Raj, way to go. You won. And then I'll be sitting here like, no, this is all still stupid and you guys suck at your jobs.
Yeah. But for the people who are blaming the NFL for today's decision, please don't. It's not their decision. you're basing this on. Granted, I understand you're basing this on their past history of how they've handled these situations, but this situation is different.
If the NFL's process of this didn't exist, and he didn't have any criminal charges filed against him, there would be no suspension. And then if Sue Robertson came to that determination today, there would be no suspension because there would be no grounds for it, according to the arbitrator. So this is all like, is this best case scenario? Kind of is best case scenario because
keep in mind, did you see the statement from her document?
Yeah.
And for those who don't know this, the statement was this: while the pattern was egregious, at the end of the day, there was like Colin brought, it was nonviolent, and this has been your baseline based off the evidence. This is what he gets. This is my recommendation. And Roger Goodell, if they decide to go up the flagpole, he can only use the same evidence given in this case. So it's a slippery slope. I personally thought the suspension would be longer. I hope the suspension would be longer. I was more so of the 12 games is fair and makes sense. But there's nothing else we can really do. And that suspension appeal is going to be a make or break thing for the NFL. That at the end of the day, it will either cause a civil war, or they're not going to appeal, and we're just going to deal with 6 games. And then Colin and I will be at war because Deshaun comes back for the first game against the Ravens.
Sorry, I'm just reading some interesting stuff from Jim Trotter of ESPN. Sports Illustrated, saying so many thoughts on this initial 6-game suspension for Deshaun Watson. Drag my screen over. It's crazy for the oh no, there is an arbiter. It is an arbiter. Okay. We're not crazy. We can't
I think both words can work, but yeah.
Yeah, okay. It's crazy for the arbiter to say that his conduct was egregious and then give him such a soft punishment. This was a fail in her significant ruling, and the league should appeal it. And can some of you please stop saying he was suspended all of last year? The fact is he chose not to play last year, yet still received his full salary. That was a choice he made with no financial consequence. If the league doesn't appeal, I never want to hear it talk about the importance of mental health, because there is no way to watch the Ashley Solis interview on Real Sports, not this show, REAL Sports, and argue that she did not suffer psychological trauma from her experience with Watson. Big facts, folks. Big facts. What he said.
No argument here. Right now, I'm praying for my dad's mental health because he's at Berea right now covering this for work.
Sorry, Papa. Bake your dad a cake when he comes home, or give him a Deshaun Watson piñata. Just get a Browns helmet piñata and put a 4 on it.
Or just put Deshaun's face on it.
Yeah, just put Deshaun's face and a Clemson logo on the other side if you don't mind, and just whack away.
He'll be too busy editing video from all the interviews today because it's going to be a long one.
Okay. Do we have any final-ish thoughts on this?
8 to 12 games would have been better. It's a dangerous game from here. Good luck to those who have those higher than us who have to figure that out. Because I'm glad we don't. But yeah, he's not a good human being. I've always stood on the fact that, and granted, this has been proven. Not every woman accusing him was telling the truth or was lying, but not all of them were telling the truth either, because there was the one who, the son came in interviews with the NFL was like, yeah, she was fine with it up until negative things started coming out, and then she was like, I'll pay you off if you go with it. Like, that, granted, that's one case, but there's a lot here that we're never going to know the full truth.
Yeah, you can get a loaf of bread and like one piece of it's a little,
right,
fucked up from the box of crackers you put on top of it.
But
you don't want to be that piece of bread, though, because then you just look like an idiot.
And you make others look bad.
Like that sets that then your one bad mistake then soils the whole thing for everybody. It spoils the whole thing for everybody, because then that is what the opposite side would then take as like, look, they're lying. They're lying. They must all be lying.
And some Browns fans did that. I was like, no. Some Browns fans, including reporters in Cleveland and sports show hosts, have made it about a race. This is a black man, a white man. No, stop. This isn't about race. He did some dirty shit. He did dirty shit. You can say he didn't, but at the end of the day, he did, and he's gonna pay for it. And he has to. That's where we're at.
And here's the final thing I will say. I do not want to hear people comparing this to Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley was suspended straight up by the NFL for a breach of contract. And that was in the bylaws of his contract, that if you gamble on the NFL as an NFL player, you will get suspended for a season. There is not a first offense rule for that. That is a breach of contract, and that goes beyond this. This was not a breach of contract. So that is why this has gone to these external sources and this independent arbitrator. That is the cause of all this. So I do not want to hear people on the internet today saying, well, Calvin Ridley got a year for gambling. Like, it's different. Sure, it doesn't seem as bad, but it's a completely different situation. And that's an NFL-only handled situation. Had nothing to do with the NFLPA. The second he breached his contract, the NFLPA had their hands tied behind their back because there's nothing they can say because it's a contract they agreed upon. And their client broke the contract. So, to me, you're either on one side of it, you're either on two sides of this. You either don't believe / care. You either don't believe the women or you don't care. And those two have created this mega hive of just negativity and disbelief and just downplay of the whole situation. Or you're on our side where you're like, yo, this dude is creating a precedent for people to think they can get away with doing shitty things to people that might not be illegal, but could be suspect in the public eye and get away with it. So, at the end of the day, this sucks. This is like not good for, like I mentioned before, the victims who feel traumatized by this situation and now just see a guy get to keep all of his money, like we mentioned before. Like, just that's professional sports, man. Like, these people will do anything to save their bottom dollar and get anything done. And if you don't think damn well that the Browns looked at that and were like, oh, if we can get 6 games out of this, we could be 3-3 and we could be fine coming out of that. We could survive Jacoby Brissett. Like, this is going to be nuts. Like, he's going to come back in week 7 against the Ravens, and it's going to be like the biggest game of the season now. For
biggest comeback against his boy.
Game. But it's still a pretty big football game. But now it's going to be an even bigger football game because it's going to have all these outside sources. They're going to be talking about it all week on all the shows. And can you imagine if you guys win that game?
Yes.
I think that's just going to be a fucking madhouse. Yeah. Joseph, I will take some of those points. I'm on a third side that there is a burden of proof that wasn't met. That's not just pro sports. That's the American legal system in a nutshell. Innocent people get thrown in jail. Guilty people walk. And to back that up, apparently the NFL, out of the 20 negative out of the 20 accusations that were unsettled or whatever, they brought out of the 20 cases that were brought forward in the June case, in the March rulings that he was not going to be charged on any criminal charges. Out of those 20 accusations, the NFL only took 5 to Sue Robertson. So I don't know if that's like she only looked at 5.
They interviewed 15 is what's being said, and they took the 5 best cases from it.
Right. The best in their opinion.
Yeah.
Like who, like to what end? To what end were those the best ones to take forward? Why would you not take the time to talk to all of these women? Because then if the like you're just then invalidating the experiences of the other 15 who weren't chosen to be represented in this situation. And there's just like, there's something somebody could have said. It just seems so it's just such a bad process. Ugh. That's it. It's just a shitty process. There's nothing we can do about it sitting here. We can just bitch and moan, which is fine. That's why I'm here.
But I do have a friend who did make a valid point into what may have been damning in the NFL's case, in the case of some of these women, is I'm trying to word this. I'm just going to go back to the message. The NFL, here's basically how we started off talking. The NFLPA had a master stroke in that tweet they sent out yesterday, the statement they made of we will abide by the arbiter's decision, and we suggest that they do the same. We ask them to do the same because we are willing to accept whatever punishment comes from it. That is what was said. So there's that. It comes out. It's 6 games. And granted, the moment that tweet came out, everybody knew it was like, oh, it's probably going to be in that 4 to 8 game range, and NFL ain't going to be happy. But my buddy pointed this out. I agree with him to a certain extent. The most damning thing is how many of them booked him again after the fact, after having a massage with him.
How many was it?
I think it was about like 15, something like that. Made a second appointment or more with him. Uh-oh, what'd Tempo do? That's the Tempo, what the fuck you doing face.
No, it just felt like a heavy walk.
Gotcha.
But that there's nobody else here walking in my apartment. So I was like,
But you know what I mean? Like that is a very valid point in the argument that was made by Deshaun Watson's side. How if this was such an issue or these incidents happened, why did so many of you rebook another appointment with him?
I'll tell you why, but you're not gonna like the answer.
They paid well. He paid well.
He either paid well,
or they enjoyed it,
or they got off somehow on the fact that they were in business with an NFL player, regardless of how that business took them.
Mm-hmm.
World's got shitty people in it. They aren't just men, as some politicians out there have proven. They're there's shitty people in this world, regardless of your gender conformity. You can do shitty things, and you can make shitty decisions. And that's just like, that then is not an issue that then people, that goes into, like, we're talking about morality at this point. We're not talking about legality. We're talking about morality. And I don't think the NFL thinks that's their job.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I think that's a great way to put a bow on it, is that at the end of the day, it's not the NFL's job to be the moral compass of the sports world. It's their job to produce a product based on the 32 owners who have shitty moral compasses. So it's never been the goal of 32 dudes to have the best people around them. It's about having the best product on the field. And until that changes, and until people who come into owning these teams have that mentality, we're not going to see a change. That's the same for politics too. Until you see people with a more genuine mindset, it's exactly. I mean, if the NFL is policing morality, we just oust a lot of owners, and that's my point. Like, it's
this is just ironic. Robert Kraft, the independent arbitrator, coming back with only a 6-game suspension for Deshaun Watson is frankly an embarrassment for the entire league.
Is that what he just said?
Apparently. Whoo! Good job, Robert. Unless somebody put that on as fake, which is possible, but I will preface it. That is allegedly said.
Yeah, that is not verified. Well, that's. Yeah, I'm not going to trust what I'll wait for a full.
Right. But Browns are at camp right now. Kevin Stefanski is scheduled to speak to media. He said he talked to the team this morning, and players are going to speak today. So we're going to hear a lot today. And Deshaun Watson is scheduled to speak today, apparently. So this is going to be really interesting.
All right, folks. We're going to close this off with some real sports news. Deebo Samuel got that bag, bitch! Yes. Way to go, South Carolina. Way to cut through that Clemson negativity with some positivity.
Man, let's just talk about Camp Buzz in general.
Camp Buzz has been wild, dog.
Like Lamar's throwing tight spirals now?
Whoa! Yo! But we got to also talk about the negative buzz that Kyle Hamilton's ass got beat by some scrub. Some random ass white dude in the crowd wearing a fucking Justin Forsett jersey walked out onto the field and busted his ass on a route. Now, granted, Kyle Hamilton is not a man safety. I don't think that position exists. But still, to get beat off the jump by some white boy looked real bad. And there is real bad talk in the Ravens.
Yes, all NFL teams are at camp.
Baby. Oh, nothing but NFL Network's been on my TV. I love it. Oh, my God. Let's talk about that. Oh, that throw was so good. Tua is looking good, man. Tua is looking good. If you could check down to Jalen Waddle while sending Tyreek Hill all the way to the end zone, that's life, baby.
And realistically, you could do the exact opposite.
Hell yeah. You could send Jalen Waddle to the pin and you could send Tyreek Hill back.
And you still got Gesicki.
Gesicki standing there like, ask me about my openness. Like, I'm just going to be open the whole season, man. And, this is going to be absolutely just an insane season. You know who's going to win the MVP and it's going to piss everybody off? Aaron Rodgers. That guy's going to do some shit, man. I haven't heard a negative thing out of Packers camp.
Depending on receiver play, I'll agree with
That's what I'm saying. I haven't heard a negative thing. He loves everybody. If he didn't, you'd have heard about it.
But he's the same guy bitching that he has no receivers the last few years. I'm just saying.
No. What I'm saying is you'd have heard about it by now. He's had time to throw with these guys, and they would have made a move since the draft. And you can bet your ass that Aaron Rodgers has had those guys together to see if he likes throwing them the football. I'm looking at Christian Watson to have a really big year. I like him, and I think that is a situation that could flourish in Green Bay. Yes. Also that, or Lazard. Yeah, Lazard, Watson. I mean, there's a whole slew of them. They need a better tight end. I don't know who their tight end is.
Yeah, I honestly don't know who their tight end is.
Is it
Tanyan, I think.
Robert
Tanyan's all right. He's all right.
He's all right. He's like but like Aaron Rodgers' tight end shouldn't be the 14th pick tight end in fantasy drafts. That's just
Apparently Njoku's looking good, which has me excited. Granted, he's got Deshaun Watson throwing to him.
Who's looking good? The Ravens, Isaiah Likely, the tight end we got. Hey, looking like a big boy. We're going to be running some dub sets again, 2 receiver sets. We haven't been able to run 2 receiver sets since Hayden Hurst.
Yeah, we got to talk about this. Buck's going after Julio and apparently just been feeding him the ball and getting and targeting him heavy and hard.
Well, yeah, there's like a shit ton of Gronk catches just sitting right there.
Yeah,
all those Gronk catches. That's what people are talking about. They're like, he's going to play wide receiver. Fuck that. He's going to line up across the center. They're going to turn him into a tight end. Maybe not like blocking, but like he'll play the receiving roles of those, and then they'll throw Cameron Brayden occasionally. But I would see Julio playing a lot out of the slot this season.
They lost their starting center too.
And Kyle Rudolph. Bro, what? Yes, absolutely. Bucks are 2 stacked. You misspelled 2 and said so stacked. It's 2 stacked. We need to do something about it.
But who's the Kenneth Walker's got drafted to the Seahawks, right?
Luckiest motherfucker in the whole world. Just
Mhm.
shout out Chris Carson, man, having to retire due to a neck
That's
injury.
exactly what I was about.
Oh
Yeah,
my God.
never properly healed. Fuck.
That's what happens when you rush a guy back 4 seasons in a row when he gets injured. But if I got injured 4 seasons in a row, I'd probably quit football too.
I don't know whether to take Breece Hall or Kenneth Walker with the first pick in my fantasy my dynasty league draft now, just because it's like Kenneth may get more carries.
Yeah, but he's got no offensive line.
True.
The Jets have at least they got Becton, right?
Yeah, they got Becton and they a few other pieces. They're supposed to have an improved line.
Yeah, if the NFL does become the moral compass of the world, they're like, hey, Zach Wilson, don't fuck your mom's best friend. And that's another episode of Real Sports.
That's the perfect way. Yo, tomorrow, be sure to check out my review for Prey, the new Predator film that drops on Hulu Wednesday. Bullet Train review should be out tomorrow also. Got a couple reviews this week. Easter Sunday, I got that tomorrow. I got to watch that tomorrow. So I got a few reviews coming this week after a dry period of. Then there was vacation. Then I came back for Thor and had a Thor review. And then I had COVID, and there was nothing until Nope came out. And I just watched Nope as a bystander, and I apologize to my rep because wedding stuff got in the way. So we're getting back to this stuff. We're getting back. I thought about messaging Colin earlier this morning for an Andor trailer reaction. I thought better of it, but we'll be getting back to doing more trailer stuff and more stuff on this channel in general. It's been a hectic period for a lot of people. Like Taylor's
man, don't apologize to these people. They don't pay you enough money. Don't apologize to them.
Taylor's got his stuff going on. I've had my stuff going on. Connor had to switch jobs. So those people you're used to seeing outside of me, Colin, everyone. They'll be back. If you haven't seen, Taylor's been streaming on our Twitch on Sundays, and then putting the gameplay from that night out. So be sure to check that out. It's fun. He's done a great job streaming Little Nightmares. I've enjoyed his streams, and we're gonna have a good time. You're gonna start seeing more from us, and a new series coming. It's not a podcast, but an actual series, probably shorts, but of what's going on in my life currently and kind of our journey to getting to where we want to be. And that's all I'll really say about that for now. But until then, Colin, take it away.
This has been another episode of Real Sports. What did we learn today, Matt? Don't get massages from creepy people. Don't fuck your mom's best friend. And Debo, and just hold out. Honestly, what is this offseason talk?
Hey,
hold out.
DK,
Everybody
DK,
hold out.
DK held out too.
Hold out? Hold out, baby. Get that bag. I don't give a shit. If it means you stay here forever, hold out. Whatever it takes. Everybody, hold out for what you deserve. Just like the NFL should hold out to give Deshaun Watson the punishment he deserves. And that's it for Real Sports, folks. I'm Matt. That's Colin. I'm Colin. That's Matt. You can find me at @_C Morris. You can follow him at Real and Matt. Let's go, baby.